Hello and welcome back to HEMAFightBreakdowns. Today I want to talk about the offensive Krumphau, and specifically the one that is used in this exchange. So if we go back and watch that one more time, what you'll notice is here, fencer on the left throws a thrust that gets parried off to this fencer's right side. And at this point, they enter a very, very, very close proximity to each other, where basically fencer on the left's hands can basically touch fencer on the right's face. And in this position, especially with the hands so high, there are a lot of options that are very limited to you. So you can't really throw a right Zverkow or a left Zverkow because you can't meaningfully get your hands up into the position that they need to be. And most importantly, Zverkows are going to be hard to get over and around the guard that's currently up here in the face. So what happens instead is they throw this particular strike right over the top. Now, the first question here is, what do you call this? And there's a lot of things that you could call it. You could theoretically call it just like a basic Oberhau with your hands tucked back. Or you could try to say that it is, in fact, maybe like a Scheitelhau just because of the targeting. I'm going to call it a Krumphau for one particular reason, and that is because of the position of the hands in relation to the sword that you have to have in order to do it, which is this right here. If you think about the Krumphaus that you normally throw to do things like crumping someone else's plow or someone else's ox, you'll know that one of the features of it is that your hands have to, and your wrists have to be in a broken alignment. So if you think about when you're throwing an Oberhau and you have your hands, wrists, knuckles, everything all on the exact same line, in the exact same plane as your long edge, a Krumphau is basically where you break that plane and you have a perpendicular angle. So your wrists are going this way and your sword is going this way, more or less. So what does this mean for the purpose of this particular exchange? The Krumphau is the better option here because of the proximity that people have to each other, these two fighters, and particularly because of the target that you can get with the Krumphau. So if we back up to about here, in this particular case, right after the lunge was missed, you'll notice that the person on the right really follows the other person's sword back with their own sword to the point where they're here. They have their point completely pointed in the wrong direction, opposite their opponent, and there's no real guard here anymore. So if they tried to throw, say, a Zverkow, again, all the way up and around the side of their head, they'd get tangled up in these hands because they'd have to cross their hands from this side of their body to at least the middle of their body or all the way to the left side of their body. By doing the Krumphau, they can keep the hands in exact same position that they are currently in, all the way out to the right side, and keep them there the entire length of the attack, ensuring that this has a limited ability of getting in the way. And that's because once this tip is all the way out here and pointed in the wrong direction, it simply has to come up and around and over the top of this guard in order to reach its target. So if you want to imagine, even if these hands stayed exactly where they are, while this cut came over the top, it would likely hit right in the middle of the hands, because what the sword is doing in this position here from the fencer who gets hit, it's basically preventing, with the crossguard, anything from coming in at this angle. So your Oberhaus, your Zverkows, and basically any attempt to clear this sword out of the way is going to get tangled up in this particular guard. And that's what they're doing on purpose, because 9 times out of 10, when someone parries your thrust, a Zverkow is the most common follow-up. So by throwing your hands up in the air and putting your guard angled in the direction that you think that Zverkow or that attack is going to come from, 9 times out of 10, you're going to stuff exactly what someone is trying to do to you. But in this case, the shot selection came at a different angle from that and ensured that it was going to get around that guard and reach its target, again, with a very limited amount of space. You can sort of see here, based on the picture, that when this shot lands, this person's hands are basically at the level of their armpit or their shoulder, meaning that they had their right hand pulled back about as far as you can possibly go without extending it any further. In order to put your right hand behind your back, you have to have your arms somewhat extended because the mobility of your shoulder stops right as your wrist would reach the level of your armpit. So this was a good bit of adaptation that allowed a person who was basically trying to stuff them right after they missed a thrust and put themselves in a position where they could still get that shot off by just basically changing up the way that they approach that target. All right, that's going to be it for today. If you'd like to see your own footage featured on the channel, feel free to send me an email over at HEMAFightBreakdowns@gmail.com, and I hope to see you next time.